Life had a way of surprising people, but nothing prepared him for the day he found the tiny creature trembling in the ditch beside the forest road. It was early morning, the sky still wrapped in sleepy shades of gray, when he spotted a small lump of fur moving weakly near the tall grass. At first, he thought it was just a piece of clothing blown off a hiker's backpack, but then he heard a faint cry, sharp, thin, and desperate. Ethan pulled his truck over, rushed toward the noise, and found a tiny creature curled tightly, shivering violently, its eyes barely open. It looked like a newborn puppy, fragile, helpless, and cold to the bone. Without thinking, Ethan scooped it into his jacket, whispering, "You're okay now, I've got you." "Don't worry." The little creature rested its head against his chest, letting out a tiny whimper, and Ethan felt his heart melt instantly. For a man who had lived alone for nearly 4 years, ever since his divorce, this sudden spark of responsibility felt strangely comforting. He wrapped the baby animal inside his jacket, turned on the truck heater, and raced toward town, glancing at the bundle every few seconds. The creature's breathing was shallow, its paws trembling with exhaustion. "Hang in there, buddy," Ethan murmured. "You're gonna be fine. I'll get you to the vet." During the drive, he kept talking to it as though it understood every word. Maybe it was ridiculous, but Ethan didn't care. He had never been able to ignore suffering, not even when the world had been cruel to him. He remembered the nights after his marriage collapsed, when he used to walk aimlessly through the woods just to stop himself from thinking. Saving this tiny life felt like a chance to do something right, something pure, something unconnected to all the failures behind him. When he finally reached the vet clinic, he rushed inside without waiting for the receptionist to say anything. Dr. Leonard, an older man known for his calm, careful manner, was preparing for his morning rounds when Ethan burst through the door. "Doc, I found a puppy," he said, breathless. "It's freezing and barely moving." Dr. Leonard approached, wiping his hands on a towel. "Let me see." Ethan gently opened the folds of his jacket and revealed the tiny creature, still barely conscious. The vet leaned in, adjusting his glasses. But then his face changed. His eyes widened, his hand paused midair, and a sudden wave of tension filled the room. "Ethan, where did you find this?" the vet asked, his voice tight. "In the ditch, near the forest road," Ethan answered. "Is something wrong?" "It's just a puppy, right? Maybe mixed breed." Dr. Leonard swallowed, examining the creature more closely. "Ethan, this isn't a puppy." "What?" Ethan blinked. "What do you mean it's not a puppy?" "I mean, look at it. Tiny, soft fur, small paws, what else could it be?" The vet exhaled slowly. "Ethan, this is a wolf cub." The world seemed to freeze around him. Ethan stared at the vet, at the trembling creature he had held so lovingly, and for a moment, he felt foolish, stunned, and strangely afraid. "A wolf," he whispered. "Are you sure?" "Positive," the vet said. "This cub is only a few days old, and judging from the condition, it was separated from its pack. Maybe the mother was injured. Maybe humans scared the pack off. Or maybe," he hesitated, "maybe poachers were involved." A chill ran up Ethan's spine. The forest had been unusually quiet lately, and there had been rumors, whispers among hunters, about illegal trapping deeper inside. Ethan's protective instinct grew even stronger. "But it's just a baby. It could have died out there." "I know," the vet said gently. "You did the right thing bringing it here. But this complicates things. Wolves are protected, meaning this cub can't just be adopted or raised like a pet." Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. He looked down at the cub again. Its eyes fluttered weakly, it let out a small, fragile cry. He couldn't believe that something so tiny could belong to a species so feared, so misunderstood. He touched the cub's head softly, and it responded by nudging into his palm. "Doc, what's going to happen to him?" "We need to stabilize him first, Drive," Leonard said. "After that, we'll contact wildlife rescue." Ethan didn't know why, but the idea of handing the cub over made him feel strangely hollow. He had only known it for an hour, yet something inside him refused to let go. Still, he stood back as the vet took the cub to the treatment room. Ethan waited for hours, pacing the lobby, replaying the vet's words over and over. When Dr. Leonard finally returned, he gave a tired smile. "He's stable, very weak, but he'll make it." Relief flooded through Ethan. Thank God. But, The vet added, I need to ask something important. Did anyone else see you pick him up? No, Ethan said. Why? Because if poachers were nearby, they might come looking for this cub. Ethan stiffened. You think I'm in danger? Not yet, the vet reassured. But wolves are valuable in illegal markets. If someone took the mother or the pack, they might be tracking the rest. And a cub this young is rare. Ethan felt a mixture of anger and determination. Then I'll help protect him. Whatever you need. The vet studied his face. Are you sure? This won't be simple. Ethan nodded. I'm sure. And so, began the strange, unexpected connection between a lonely man and a creature of the wild. The wildlife rescue team agreed to take the cub but requested that Ethan help monitor the area where he found it, since he knew the forest better than anyone. Ethan agreed instantly. Over the next few weeks, Ethan visited the rescue center almost daily. The cub, now named Ash, because of the soft gray fur, seemed to recognize him. Every time Ethan walked in, Ash hobbled toward him, whining softly until Ethan lifted him into his arms. None of the handlers understood why Ash reacted so strongly to Ethan, but Drive. Leonard did. He imprinted on you, he said. You saved him at the most critical moment. In his mind, you're his protector. Ethan felt something warm and painful inside him. I won't let him down. Days turned into weeks, and Ash grew stronger, fluffier, and more active. Ethan brought blankets, toys, even hand warmers on cold mornings. It wasn't just caring, it was bonding. He talked to Ash about everything. His failed marriage, his struggles, his loneliness. Somehow, the cub seemed to listen. But peace never lasts. One night, while Ethan was at home making a late dinner, he heard a vehicle slow down outside. When he peeked through the blinds, he saw a rusted truck idling near his driveway. Two men sat inside, scanning the area with narrow, calculating eyes. Ethan didn't recognize them, but something about their cold expressions made his stomach twist. After a moment, the truck drove off. The next morning, the rescue center called. Ethan, the handler said urgently, someone broke in last night. Ethan's heart dropped. Is Ash okay? He's safe. But the enclosure was tampered with. We think someone was trying to steal him. Ethan clenched his fists. I saw a suspicious truck last night. I think someone tracked me. The center increased security, and the police were informed. Ethan felt a growing sense of dread, but also determination. He returned to the forest, retraced the path where he found Ash, and discovered signs he had missed before. Broken branches, boot prints, and a metal snare half buried beneath leaves. Someone had been hunting wolves illegally, and they weren't done. As he crouched near the snare, he felt movement behind him. Ethan spun around, heart pounding, only to see a full-grown wolf, a massive gray male, standing 10 meters away. Its yellow eyes locked with Ethan's. For a long moment, neither moved. The forest held its breath. Then, the wolf lowered its head, not in threat, but in grief. Ethan suddenly understood. This was Ash's father. And he was searching for his missing cub. Ethan spoke softly. Your little one is safe. I promise. I'm protecting him. The wolf watched him, ears twitching, then slowly retreated into the shadows. It didn't attack. It didn't growl. It simply vanished, accepting Ethan's assurance. That night, Ethan reported everything to the authorities, but he didn't sleep. He kept thinking of the father wolf, of Ash, of the poachers who were still out there. Soon after, the breakthrough came. Police found the same rusted truck abandoned near the woods, along with evidence of illegal trapping. The poachers fled the state, leaving behind enough proof to shut down their operation. Life slowly returned to normal. Ash continued to grow, becoming stronger, sharper, more wolf than puppy. Eventually, the rescue center decided he was ready to return to the wild. Ethan felt a crack in his heart when they told him. He knew it was right, but the thought of letting go crushed him. On release day, Ethan drove to the forest clearing with the team. Ash stood inside the carrier, restless but excited, sensing freedom. Ethan opened the door slowly. The young wolf stepped out, sniffed the air, then looked back, right into Ethan's eyes. For a long moment, they simply stared at each other, the whole world silent around them. Then Ash walked forward and pressed his forehead against Ethan's leg, a small, tender gesture of farewell. Ethan closed his eyes, fighting the sting. Go on, little buddy. You're where you belong now. Ash trotted into the forest, turned once more, and disappeared among the trees. Weeks passed. Ethan still visited the forest, not expecting to see Ash again but feeling peaceful just being there. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, he heard a familiar howl, low, strong, and unmistakable. He smiled. Some bonds, he realized, don't end. They just change shape. And for Ethan Hale, the man who thought he had saved a puppy but ended up saving something far greater. A life, a legacy, a family. That strange morning on the forest road would remain the most meaningful surprise life had ever given him.